Hey, good afternoon. It's Monday, and this is the Simple Market update, futures update. We got an interesting week this week that really largely centers around Wednesday. We got the G7 summit that's going on right now, but on Wednesday we're going to get an OPEC all-day meet, BOE's Bailey, ECB's Lagarde, and Fed's Powell all on Wednesday. Thursday, if I can remind you, I mean, that's really the crux of kind of the whole week right there. But then Thursday, if I can remind you, that's the end of month. And it wouldn't surprise me to see, kind of hold, as often we do, hold into the end of the month, and then get a little first of the new month, new money sort of uptick kind of deal. So then after this week, of course, if I can remind you, and I probably will again on Wednesday when I do the midweek update, we get holiday, July 4th, extended weekend. And then when you come back from that, it gets interesting. We got non-farm payroll on the first Friday of the new month. Just behind that, we'll have the July FOMC Fed minutes coming into, CPI, that's July 13th, that's right behind that. Then a little bit later we get into Apple earnings, FOMC July 27th, and then GDP also, and that'll be a big one too. We want to see if we get a negative reading on that GDP. So that what I'm telling you is there's some interesting times ahead. But where we are right now, if you recall last week, we were looking for maybe about a 37.50 over under. That was on Wednesday. That held pretty well. Push us up into targets up here for a gap mid and then gap closure that would trade through a little bit and hit this EOQ settle print up there, which is also an HVN at 39.12. And that's the route that this chose versus rolling over and, kind of looking at the bearish side. But so now what we need to figure out is what about this week? Because that's kind of a review of last. So what about this week? Still yet above us, we've got another gap up here, and the gap mid on that is about 39.80. I think it's like maybe 85 or something. The gap mid, that's a target. That's one of the bullish targets. And then the full gap up here at I'm gonna call it 40.20 for the T2 on the top. And I would like to see. Now this is, look, you got to realize last week we had a 220 some odd point range on the week. All right, so this is, you got to be ready for what can be, and certainly can be wide. The 200 plus was not priced into the options chain on the SPX, so that was a bit of a surprise to the market to be that wide. It wasn't a surprise to us because we had targets up there, but it was a surprise to the SPX options chain, I can tell you. So if we, now this one gets a little tricky, so follow me here. This the over under, I'm gonna pick the gap mid 38.70 as the over under. I say it's a little tricky because the weekly pivot is behind it back here at 38.30. So, but I'm picking a line in the sand. I'm gonna call it 38.70. That's the gap mid. You can see a string of lows back here from May, right at that print. That was our gap mid. That was our T1 on the up, and T2 39.12. And below there, we have to figure out what would be if it rolls over and is bearish. That's not the way I'm looking. Like last week, I was like, I had to be prepared, but I have a preference also, but I do have to be prepared for either. And if it, decides to break and be bearish, then in my opinion, it would probably be Wednesday on that plethora of event risk slash volatility given the extent of the Fed heads that we get to hear from, BOE, ECB, and U.S. Fed's Powell. So if it's going to roll, then we've got a gap here below us from late last week, Thursday into Friday. And the gap mid on that would be target 38, guess it's like 38.18 and a half is the gap mid. All right, I've actually done the math on that one. It's 38.18 and a half. And you know, I mean, if things got a little, you need a T2, so I'll give you one. If in the event things got a little crazy, then there are two different, both of which are 3-day balance sessions back here. And the balance for that is 37.77. So that would be the T2, 37.77. So you'd have 38.18 and a half and 37.77. And that's the reason for those two prices. All right, and on the top you got targets, on the bottom you got targets. So let me know if you want to hear from in the comments or something. You can let me know if you want to hear about something else other than just the S&Ps all the time. I mean, we trade all kind of stuff in the trading room. We're usually trading bonds and gold, crude oil, and do a lot of energy stuff, nat gas, and different things. So if there's something else you want to look into, we certainly can. But this gives, if we concentrate on the S&P 500, then then we're looking at just broad market, which hopefully is helpful. And I'll leave you with this, and hopefully it helps. Look forward to being with you again at the next update, which for me will be Wednesday night for midweek.
Without simpler trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency. It's one of the things that won me